Finally, I give the floor to Mr. Carlos Galvan, leader of the Digital Calibration Certificate Working Group, to make some final remarks and close the event. Please, Mr. Carlos Galvan, go ahead with your final remarks.
Thank you very much, Aldo. And thanks to all speakers for this kind presentation and also for the discussion. I think this is very useful for understanding the problematic that we have to development, to design a DCC. Before to close this session, I would like to show you some ideas that I have in my mind about these DCC topics. And I think that this is important for the laboratories that are thinking to start the development of DCC inside of the laboratories and institutions. It can be considered. I just want to say, for example, actually, for example, most of the institutes uses different tools to design or to generate the certificates. I mean, they can use word processors or spreadsheets in order to make the calculations and in order to generate the printed certificate, and also the PDF, like our speaker mentioned in the working. So, but for the, like I said, the PDF also can be handled. But we need to think, for example, actual certificates, who is it for? I mean, when we think or when we make a certificate, we think that the who is going to be these persons, humans. I mean, that's why we usually include some task description, some graphics, some images, in order to show to the people how is currently doing the calibration or how looks the results. So until now, that is the uses or the recipients for the calibration certificates. And also, for what we use this calibration information in certificates, for example, for corrections, right? The information in certificates can be, for example, readings, the difference between the standard and also the error. Of course, the people needs to take this information and make the corrections and make the actions that we need to do is make the corrections in order to obtain a correct reading and use the information that is included in the certificate. For example, in the case of uncertainty, it's important to take the value in order to estimate the next levels in uncertainty. I mean, when I use a standard, when we use a gauge, we use a calibration procedure, and then we are already another uncertainty contribution. So we need this information in order to have. Until now, we read the document, we read the PDF, we read the printed document and obtain this value and then transfer to our system, to our software, in order to calculate the most values. But like the new proposal for the DCC is data exchange. It's not only thinking and reading this information by a person, but also by machines. I mean, I need to transfer all this information that I have to the machines, to the production floor, etc. I mean, use this information because it's not only to see the results, to have the paper, but also use the results obtained in the calibration certificate. So that's important that this exchange information is only not for person, but only not for machine, but also, for example, a quality digital system. I mean, a system that can give some information about the status of the quality system, and also a different system that use this information. So the intention of this data exchange is this information can be read not only for machine, but also for another system and also for humans. And one thing is important that we are mentioning in different meetings about the DCC and also in the working group at the SIM is that with the current certificates, is all data entry manually. Maybe in some institutions they don't have this step that mentioned our speaker, especially Francisco, that say about what is digital and digitalized. I mean, it's important to have the information in digitalized format. I mean, that this information can be used and be shared by other systems. So, but the problem is, okay, and the question arises, is the information for certificates digitalized? We need to analyze in our system. I mean, every institute, every laboratory has different levels of digitalized information. Some information can be just manual entry, but also many or inside the laboratories have some automation task. So they have already obtained digitalized information. So with this in mind, there are some considerations that we need to think about to develop the new DCC or the new digital calibration certificate. So now a DCC not is only for person, it's also for machines, it's also for systems, and also for instruments. I mean, an instrument can, if it has an electronic interface, also can read it, and then read all the information containing the calibration certificate, and also maybe for auto-compensate and make all the correction that is needed with no human intervention, for example. So, and we need to think about what information is needed. Like I mentioned, actual certificates are designed for people. So maybe some information is not necessary to be included in the digital version because it's not being interpreted by a machine or by another instrument. Of course, you can include if we can read it by the human, by persons, but also we need to concentrate in the information that can be used for non-human entities like instruments, machines, computers, and as we see. And another consideration that we need to think is what about lab automation? Is necessary to have an automated lab to generate the digital calibration certificates? And I think the answer is not. It's not necessary. We can, of course, it will be important, it will be useful in order to have all the digitalized information, but it's not necessary. We can start to generate our digital calibration certificates a step ahead of this. I mean, we can go using our actual ways of generating the calibration certificates, but thinking in a digitalized form. I mean, XML format or the format that was established or was selected by the laboratory, but it's not necessary to put. It's useful, but it's not necessary. Okay, so thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to close with this thing, with this considerations. And I don't know if there is a question about us. It's a comment. We have time to close the session, but it's time maybe for one or two comments or questions. I don't know if Federico and Daniel want to add something about the talk, about the speaks, about the DCC.
If it's okay, I can add something. I was gonna write it as a comment to you. Thank you for the presentation. I completely agree that we need to start thinking, who is this for? And I completely agree with the final remark. I believe that we can start right now with DCCs like we're doing in Metas, just by focusing on specific requirements and slowly advancing. And if automation comes in the labs and if new technologies comes, we can adapt eventually. But right now, we can do it right now. And my suggestion to all NMIs that had asked me about it is, if you do it customer-centric or focus on what the customer needs, it's faster and easier for you to find which specific fields you should start with. So that's just my.
Thank you very much, Federico. You're right. Yes, Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I like to add to that. The DCC full machine readable with all functions for interoperability will not be ready tomorrow, but we will have certain years of transition period where digital formats are used in parallel to ongoing use of course, the PDF documents to a certain account. We should be clear, it's a big step. Maybe today we are beginning just thinking about making things machine readable, which is already a big step, as you can see. And for many years, we will work on that DCC development towards this machine usable, machine interpretable, and AI ready, just as a keyword here, documents. And then it's absolutely correct to say, when it's ready for the future, then it's the time to get into automation and explore further benefits. But for today, the first and big benefit is to have the data machine readable, even if it's still not interoperable to a certain extent.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Daniel. I will appreciate your participation. I will appreciate your time because I know that we had a big difference time zone. So thank you for your effort to participate in this. I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Go ahead, Aldo.